awakened by a dream that is bothering him. The servant passes on to Pharaoh that Joseph can interpret dreams. The Pharaoh describes to Joseph an unusual dream. Pharaoh was walking along the banks of the Nile when he saw 7 fat cows come out of the water, followed by 7 skinny cows. The skinny cows gobbled up the fat ones, but still remained skinny. This baffled the Pharaoh. Joseph thought about the dreams and determined that they provided a sign. He interpreted that Egypt would flourish in food and resources for the next 7 years, but then, almost overnight, a 7-year famine would occur. The Pharaoh supports Joseph's interpretation and decides to put Joseph in charge of managing the task of storing food for the anticipated famine. Joseph goes literally from rags to riches overnight. Later, back in the land of Canaan, Jacob, Joseph's brothers, and their families are feeling the ill effects of the famine. They decide to go to Egypt to beg for a loan. After all, the food and resources in Egypt have been managed and stored so well. Food is bountiful. The brothers travel to Egypt, where they come before Joseph, but don't recognize him. Joseph realizes they don't know who he is, and decides to test the brothers' commitment to each other. While attention is diverted, Joseph places his own golden goblet into the satchel of one of the brothers, Benjamin. Joseph then explains that his goblet has been stolen and commands the court guards to search the belongings of his brothers. When the goblet is found in Benjamin's bag, the brothers are amazed and believe Benjamin has been framed. Chris Stevenson leads our next song as one brother, Judah, speaks out to say that Benjamin would surely never pull such a stunt in Benjamin Calypso. In the song, Any Dream Will Do.
much. Hope you enjoyed Joseph and the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And have a wonderful evening. Drive safely. Oh, all right. I do have a few announcements. Thank you for your attendance tonight. We do appreciate you being here and supporting our vocal music department. If Mike Anderson is in attendance this evening, I'd ask him to step to the stage at this point. Mike and Sarah Litz, who's not able to make it tonight, have developed a logo for the Thompson Valley Vocal Music Department. Back in December, about the first week in December, we proposed to the students of the Vocal Music Department, the Art Department, and the Computer Graphics Department to submit some entries for a Vocal Music Department logo. The prize being the gratification of being selected, as well as the various paraphernalia that we could print the logo upon, including business cards, a letterhead, as well as t-shirts, which are on sale out in the lobby for you to support our vocal music department. Wear it with pride. You are now invited to enjoy some fellowship and some refreshments from the concession stand in the cafeteria during this 15-minute intermission. You can also make arrangements to participate in several vocal music fundraisers. Both flower sales and videotape copies of tonight's performance are on display in the lobby. Thank you again.
One of the first of the rock-type religious musicals that began to emerge in the 70s, Godspell, opened off-Broadway in New York on May 17, 1971. It was based on the book by John Michael Teblak, which is based on the Gospel according to St. Matthew, and had music and lyrics by newcomer Stephen Schwartz. In the early spring of 1970, a young man by the name of John Michael Teblak was losing interest in his graduate work in drama. Then on March 29th, Easter Eve, he happened to go to church. He states, "I had been working on my master's thesis for Carnegie Tech School of Drama, but put it aside. Then I went to the Easter Vigil service at the Anglican Cathedral in Pittsburgh. It was snowing, and I was aware of the proper setting for a tremendous religious experience. But the people in the church seemed bored, and the clergymen seemed to be hurrying to get it over with. I left with the feeling that rather than rolling the rock away from the tomb, they were piling more back on. I went home, took out my manuscript, and worked it to a completion in a non-stop frenzy." Such a frenzy, born of disappointment in what should be the most triumphant moment of the Christian liturgical year, produced the most unlikely of events in theater history, a significant debut for both playwright and composer. Godspell indeed had been a most unorthodox success story. Eventually, Stephen Schwartz was asked to write the musical score. Schwartz finished the score in 5 weeks, and Godspell opened formally at the small Cherry Lane Theater off Broadway, less than 14 months after the snowy Easter of 1970. Godspell is very adaptable in era and costuming. We have decided to dress in the original costuming from when it was written in 1970. Godspell is unique in that each of the roles in the musical are played using the actors and actresses' real-life names. This communicates to an audience the possibility that anyone in a given situation might react similarly to the actors and actresses on stage. The characters are acting as disciples of Jesus, learning from his teachings. They absorb the information that Jesus presents through the form of parables, but the information is new to them. It seems like a revelation. Cody Smith and Ginger Hughes invite us to prepare ye the way of the Lord. chapter from the Bible, Matthew 5, verses 13 through 16. The actors and actresses are greatly inspired by these words of encouragement, as Olivia Duncan, Monica Nielsen, and Brooke Bagel remind us that each of us can be a light of inspiration to those around us, and you are the light of the world. But through religion, there is a greater being in nature that helps the fields grow, keeps us healthy, and gives us food. The characters can only offer their love, as Chris Stevenson leads us in all good gifts.
Fields and scatter the
in Godspell is written in one of several popular styles, but its specific instruction is unlike that of any other song. And spread encouragement and light. Including those he wrote with Tim Rice, and the later ones where people pretend to be cats in trains, have been enormously successful all over the world for many years. The Phantom of the Opera still seems to be the show that gives audiences the deepest and most enduring satisfaction. It opened at Her Majesty's Theatre in London on October 9, 1986. The score was by Leonard Lloyd Webber, who did the music, and Charles Hart, lyrics, with additional lyrics by Richard Stilgoe. Lloyd Webber and Stilgoe also wrote the book, which was based on Gaston Leroux's 1891 novel. The familiar story is set in the Paris Opera House during the 19th century, where the facially disfigured masked phantom, played by Michael Crawford, haunts and terrorizes the occupants. He is obsessed with a young and beautiful soprano, Christine, played by Sarah Brightman, and whisked her way below the theater, steering her through the candlelit sewers to his richly furnished rooms deep under the streets of the city. He teaches her to sing like an angel, and she initially becomes entranced by him, but she loves another. In his rage, the Phantom threatens to blow up the opera house if she refuses to stay with him. She agrees to his blackmail, but when she kisses him without any apparent sign of revulsion at his deformity, he is so moved that he releases her into the arms of Raoul, played by Steve Barton, her leading man. Lloyd Webber's ravishing music was his most romantic and overtly operatic so far, and arguably his best. While the Phantom of the Opera settled in for a long London run, Crawford, Reitman, and Barton recreated their roles for the Broadway production, which opened at the Majestic Theatre on January 26, 1988. A muted triumph was the consensus of opinion, but there was nothing muted about the show's appeal when the Tony Awards time came around. The Phantom of the Opera was nominated for Best Musical, Best Actor, Michael Crawford, Best Featured Actress, Judy Kay, Best Sets, Costumes, Lighting, and Director, Harold Prince. Since that time, both the UK and the US productions have continued to be the hottest tickets in any town, and touring versions have proliferated in many countries. In 1993, as the London production celebrated its 7th anniversary, a second company was dispatched to the provinces, and in the same year, it was estimated that the show had grossed over $1 billion worldwide. Phantom of the Opera begins with the opera house prima donna Carlotta as she shares an aria with the cast of the current opera house production Hannibal. She begins the aria, Think of Me, when suddenly she's interrupted by a thunderous crash. One of the backdrops on the stage comes crumbling to the stage floor, cutting off Carlotta from half of the cast. The superstitious chorus girls exclaim warnings at the supposed responsible party, the Phantom of the Opera.